here in Atlanta. This is Game Time Live at NBA TV. He's the NBA champion, Brendan Haywood. Steve Smith to join us momentarily. I'm Jared Greenberg. We continue to remember Kobe Bryant. In a couple of moments, we'll hear from the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, Frank Vogel. We'll also hear from Kawhi Leonard, who, interestingly enough, used the same helicopter pilot to commute from San Diego to Los Angeles on a regular basis. So we'll hear from them coming up a little later on as we continue to heal, recover, and celebrate and move on and talk about basketball. Brendan.
Yeah, and it's a tough time because there's other basketball being played, but at the same time, you still feel like you have to be, you still have to talk about Kobe and what happened and the other victims in the crash. So it's hard to kind of transition out of this funk that everybody's in the basketball world. But at some point, we're going to have to move it forward.
And we'll try and do that tonight with 6 games and some really important games around the NBA, particularly in Indiana, where Victor Oladipo, who has targeted and circled this date for a while now, since injuring his quad tendon just over a year ago. This was a brutal injury. He was having a sensational season. And now the Pacers, who have gotten off to one of the more surprising starts in the NBA, get a 2-time All-Star back in their lineup. Pacers and Bulls tonight. Indiana will have 7 of their next 8 at home. What can we expect from Victor Oladipo? Let's hear from him.
I'm just go out there and play, compete at the highest level. I ain't played basketball in a year, so when you haven't done something you love for a long time, it's just a matter of just being able to do it again. It's the enjoyment of it. So I'm just going to enjoy being able to play. I mean, just because I had a quad injury, I'm still Victor. Eventually, obviously, I don't expect to go out there and get 40, but my mentality is that I'm going to get 40. So that's not going to change. So my body will follow my mind. Obviously, I can't tell the future. And obviously, I don't know what it's going to be like because I haven't gone out there and played. But I'm optimistic. I've always been and always will be. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and play my game because I know if I play my game, I'll benefit somehow. So, and then through the course of the year and through the course of these next however many games there is, we'll adjust. We've been adjusting all year, so ain't nothing gonna change now.
Victor Oladipo back tonight, Pacers and Bulls. I encourage everybody at this point in the year to really focus on the loss column here because of the imbalance in number of games each team has played. You look at the Indiana Pacers right now, they're in a position where they are 30-17. We'll fix that here. 30-17 the Pacers are. And they are 2 games out of the 3rd spot, 3 games out of the 2nd spot in the East. So you get Victor Oladipo back. He's going to be on a minutes restriction, B. Wood. He's going to play about 24 minutes. And from what we're hearing from the Pacers, they're going to continue that out for at least the next week heading into the All-Star break.
Well, you get Victor Oladipo back and you give him a taste of NBA action again. And I like the fact that there is going to be a minutes restriction, 24 minutes like you just said, so he doesn't come out there and do too much. And on an injury like this, it's all about trial and error. You want him to go out there the first day and then you want to come back and monitor it the next day. Hey, are you having any soreness, swelling? Are you moving the same? How do you feel? So I like the fact that he's going to be on a minutes restriction. He's going to come off the bench. But more importantly, moving this conversation forward and what this team is going to look like going forward. When they're able to get Victor Oladipo in shape and back acclimated into the starting lineup, I think this is going to be a very scary unit because they have a backcourt that, when healthy, and health has been a big question, can be one of the better two-way backcourts in the league when you talk about Victor and Malcolm Brogdon. And then you look at the rest of the team, so many guys have grown up since Victor has been gone.
Sure.
Miles Turner's playing better right now. Sabonis has turned himself into an all-star. And then they also went out and got Victor some help in the offseason with a guy like T.J. Warren, who's averaging 18 points per game. Also, Jeremy Lamb is on that team doing well also, around 13 points per game. So this team is not the same as when Victor left. It's not just Victor Oladipo trying to do it by himself like he had to do against the Cavaliers in that playoff series 2 years ago. Now, when the Pacers make it to the playoffs, they can beat you with offense and defense. But more importantly, Victor doesn't have to feel like I have to be a superstar every night. Some nights he can throw the ball to Malcolm Brogdon or T.J. Warren and let those guys do it themselves.
And interestingly enough, he'll come off the bench. Do you like that idea at first?
Yeah, I like that idea at first. Let him come off the bench, and you want to get him ready, but you don't want to throw off the team's chemistry. And once you see that he's come off the bench for enough games that he feels comfortable and he's got his win right, then you let him start.
It's not just Victor Oladipo. This team has been hit by the injury bug. 12 players have missed a combined 136 games this season, and the fact that they are 30-17 with this is quite amazing. But with that said, now let's look at this rotation and talk about with such a big presence, Victor was a two-time All-Star. You know, he was having a sensational year. His minutes are going to have to compromise somebody else's minutes and probably their productivity as well, right? So
right.
Where does it come from, and who takes the hit?
Probably collectively, maybe a little bit of Holiday, McConnell, McDermott, all those guys up there. Like, the fact of the matter is, when you have Victor Oladipo, you might take a little bit of minutes from here and there, and you build him back up to where he starts out getting 24 minutes a night, and you're going to build him up to where he's playing over 30. And some of those guys are going to have to sacrifice, but that's part of being a team. You know, this is a better team when Victor Oladipo is on it and playing at a high level.
Well, interestingly enough, the two guys that we didn't have on that graphic, and for good reason, were T.J. Warren and Malcolm Brogdon. He's not going to cost those guys minutes, but is he going to cost those guys shots? And those two guys have been great team guys, and we know what a great two-way committed player that Malcolm Brogdon is and how great he can be. But how difficult is it to take a step back and to he's been the closer for this team when healthy. He's been the go-to guy. Is it a difficult role or transition now?
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. And part of being a good team is having chemistry and knowing who takes what shots and when. And the great teams, if you watch them down the stretch, they know where the ball is going and who's going to get the shots. The bad teams in the NBA, it goes all over the place, and different guys get different shots at certain times. So Victor Oladipo is going to have to come in here and say, okay, this is what the team has been doing, and he's going to have to understand it's not the same as when he left.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be Victor Oladipo's night. Some nights they might be able to play through Sabonis. Some nights it might be Brogdon or maybe even T.J. Warren. He has to be okay with that also, because you see sometimes all-stars come back and they're like, okay, I'm back, guys, and I want it to be all about me. And it doesn't work like that, because other guys say, well, wait a minute. My role has changed and your role has changed. And we saw that last year with the Boston Celtics. Kyrie and Gordon Hayward came back. They're like, hey, guys, we're back. And those young guys are like, nah, we made it almost to the NBA Finals without you. And there was a little bit of rift and there's a little bit of friction. So in these type of situations, Victor has to be willing to give a little bit, and so does his teammates.
Yeah, it's going to take that communication. Victor, as I mentioned, the 24-minute restriction, he's going to come off the bench for the time being, and he's not going to play in back-to-backs. Not that many remaining for the Indiana Pacers. They have a favorable schedule here.
Right.
They have the Bulls tonight, then they have the Knicks, and then they have the Dallas Mavericks. So, you hate to say it this way, but a good way to ease your way back in with these first two games.
And listen, if I was picking a game to come back, I would definitely pick the Bulls. They'd be one of the teams I would highlight. I just think that this is he has a very favorable schedule, so that's good. It's tough when you come back playing against an elite player. It'd be tough to come back playing against, the Clippers, and you have Kawhi or somebody like that guarding you. So I think that Victor picked a good game. I think the Pacers picked a good game for him to come back, and the schedule opens up quite nicely for him.
Well, you're down on the Bulls here, but they are starting to sneak up on the top 8 right now. The Chicago Bulls at 19-30, and you say, wow, 11 games under 500. But there's still 4 games in the loss column behind the 8th spot. Zach LaVine has done enough. Now, some may not think he is deserving of All-Star votes.
Putting up some big-time stats.
But he certainly is doing that. So does this team have a shot in your mind, particularly the way they've been defending lately? Do they have an opportunity here to make a run at the 8th seed?
Yeah, they definitely have a chance to make a run at the 8th seed, because Brooklyn is also not playing very well right now. If you look at Brooklyn, they've lost their last game. Orlando, they've lost their last 4. So the Chicago Bulls, if they can get on a run, they have a chance. Brooklyn is a little bit, they're struggling to defend as well. Kyrie made the comments that he made about the team needing some more pieces. That couldn't have sat well with the locker room. I don't care what anybody says. So right now, Brooklyn's trying to figure it out. Orlando is not a powerhouse. Sometimes they have trouble scoring the basketball, and they're on a little bit of a slide. So if Chicago can continue to chip away at this thing, they might be able to catch somebody after the All-Star break and make a run and get the 8th spot.
All right, so we will take a live look in Indiana. They're about to tip off in the next 2 minutes here, and stay with us throughout the night. We'll update you on Victor Oladipo's progress. Again, he'll come off the bench tonight. Let's take you around the league for the rest of the night in the NBA. You mentioned those Nets. They're tonight home for the Detroit Pistons. You see Derrick Rose there. He'll have a good